15 years ago, just 5% of marketing spend was online. Today, that number is closer to 95%. But then 15 years ago, people used yellow pages, direct mail, directory magazines, TV, radio, and many other ways to generate leads for their organization. Today, for a lot of people, the vast majority of their leads come from digital. But of course it makes sense. 15 years ago, most of us would get in our cars and we'd go to shopping centers to buy our Christmas presents. This year, I bet for a lot of us, we do it online and it arrives in an Amazon van. This creates a huge problem for business leaders. You see, to succeed in business now, we need to succeed first online. And of course, how do we do that when 15 years ago, the people carrying out our digital marketing now were still in school then? We talk an absolutely, completely different language. You see, digital marketers don't typically understand business objectives, and business leaders don't typically understand digital marketing speak. That creates a huge issue within our organizations. It's a communication issue that's costing organizations thousands of pounds daily. My name's Elton Boocock. I'm an author, I'm a BBC radio panelist, I'm the creator of an award-winning digital marketing agency amongst various other businesses. But most of all, I'm really passionate about helping business owners, CEOs, and MDs to make a real success of their own organizations. So here's what I've found. There are just 5 questions that, if learned and used consistently within your organization, can absolutely transform your digital marketing success. I'd like to share with you my 5 questions, and also at the end how we could work together to implement them within your organization. However, before we do that, I'd like to take you back with me, if I may, to Aberdeen. See, here's a picture. I'm stood in Aberdeen Airport. It's 2003, and for anybody who'd been to Aberdeen Airport in 2003, you'd realise that it was tiny. More aircraft left to go over to the oil platforms than did into any other destination. This was not Heathrow. And it's a tiny airport on the outskirts of a very grey city. And I say grey because of the granite that's used, but grey also because I remember it being so grey that weekend for me. So what's going on? Well, I've gone away to get away from it all. I'm away for a weekend because things had become a little bit heavy. And I'm stood in Aberdeen, this grey city, feeling extremely grey. But when I get to the airport, I don't know, confused, I'm feeling lonely, I feel sort of shame and all these feelings that, you know, were just overwhelming. And I have to explain why, because otherwise it makes no sense in the context of this video. I'm there because I'm in the WH Smiths desperately seeking some help. In 1997, I formed a digital marketing agency. In 2001, I decided to grab my own slice of the .com, at that point, bubble. And I set up a portal for the haulage and logistics industry. Now, that portal went on to have 5 million visits per month. It was quoted in industry press. We had all the advertisers you could possibly dream of having in that industry, and everything on the outside was looking so good. And everything from a marketing point of view was so good. You know, you don't get 5 million visits to a website in 2001, 2002 without doing some very good marketing work. And back at that point in time, if there was a key phrase we wanted to be number one for, we were number one in Google for that. So what had gone so terribly wrong? Well, it was at that point when I realized the difference between marketing success and business success. Because I ticked all of these marketing boxes, but they didn't align to any business strategy. The numbers just didn't add up. And therefore I'm in Aberdeen Airport, in the WH Smiths, desperately trying to work out how have I got this so wrong? How have I just lost £250,000 of what would have been my children's inheritance on getting it so wrong on a business that was so dependent on marketing, a field I knew so much about, and how do I go and explain that to everybody? That starts to tell you why I might be so passionate about helping other people succeed. What it doesn't quite tell you is that since then I've been on a mission, an absolute mission to understand how can marketing be so good for a business, and equally how can it be so bad for a business? What's the difference? What makes it either work or not work? What is good marketing? What is bad marketing? And over that time I've discovered 5 questions, and that's my 5 questions that, if learnt and applied to your organization, will fundamentally change the results that you get through digital marketing. So, here's my 5 questions. Question number 1. The first question is the key question. It asks, what activities are we doing in our digital marketing, and how do they align with our business strategy and our sales process? And it's the first question for a reason. You see, a lot of organizations don't actually have a very clear business strategy. And those that have a clear business strategy haven't always communicated it to the people who need to know. And certainly if you're using outside digital agencies, there's a very good chance that you haven't shared that business strategy with them. And if you have they shared it back to you in their own words? Do they fully understand what it is you need from them? So that's why that question comes absolutely first in the list. It also included a part around the sales process. Understanding now how the marketing lead generation ties in with the sales conversion and closing is key to the success of your organization. So this leads on to question 2. Which activities do we carry out for awareness, and which activities for direct sales? You see, a lot of marketers, especially digital marketers, just believe everything they're doing is to drive sales. And that's just so not the case. If we go back to the Orange Telecom campaign, see, I call it Orange Telecom now, but for months, all we knew was that the future was bright and the future was orange. And for months, it didn't matter if we'd fallen in love with Orange. There was nothing we could buy from them. So at that point in time, we didn't know what Orange was going to sell. Do we think Orange at that point in time were trying to drive awareness or sales? And it's clear. They were trying to drive awareness. Now, of course, months into the campaign, we learn that the future is bright, the future is orange, and Orange is a mobile telecommunications company. At that point, they want to drive sales. But it's a very clear distinction between awareness and sales. And for your organization, you might need lots of awareness and the sales just come, or you might need lots of direct sales pushing to get the sales, and you don't need to be building awareness. For most organizations, it's actually a mix of the two. And what I encourage is to work out what that mix looks like in terms of, is it more towards awareness or more towards direct sales, and make sure that your activities align in the same way. So once we've got over there, then we're looking at how we keep improving things. Question number 3 is, what processes and KPIs do we have in place to ensure continued improvement? Now, this question in itself infers two things. Firstly, that you have KPIs, your key performance indicators are well known and communicated so that everybody understands what they are. And secondly, that you actually carry out continued improvement. So here's the thing I've seen so often. People go away and build a website and they consider it a CapEx expenditure. It's a big cost that will not be repeated probably for a few years. And then they go away and they do digital marketing. So this is an ongoing cost of, let's say, search engines or social media or emails to drive people to a website that was built once in the hope that you got it right first time. And that just doesn't happen. When was the last time you did something major and got it absolutely right the very first time you tried it? It's a very rare thing. So what processes do you have in place to make sure that once you've launched a website, you continually improve the performance of the website? Once you've launched a social media campaign, you continually improve the performance of that campaign. So by asking this question, you now start to understand that you have to have clear KPIs and a process, not just every so often, but a deliberate process to continually improve the results that you're getting. Now, questions 1, 2, and 3 are all going to start improving the results that we talk about in question 4. Question 4 is, how does my cost of acquisition align with my lifetime customer value? This is when we really start talking about numbers. And the first mistake that I see here is not actually the not having clear numbers, it's an unwillingness to share those numbers with your digital marketing people. Now, especially if they're outsourced, the common thing is here, we don't want them to know exactly what profit we make. But then, of course, if I sent the England rugby team out to play and blindfolded them and didn't tell them the shape of the ball, they might have an even more difficult time of winning than they currently do. So you have to know what your lifetime value is, and you have to share that with your digital marketing team, internal or external, in order for them to fully understand what the game is and what they need to achieve. At the same time, you need to be driving down the cost of acquisition. You need to make sure that the two numbers absolutely stack in your favor. So having these measurements in place, looking at how we increase the lifetime value and how we decrease the cost of acquisition and therefore improve profits overall, is the responsibility of not just you, but also your digital marketers. So that's an important question, question number 4. Question number 5 I deliberately leave to the end because it's the one that is often left out completely. And it's, how are we promoting and managing our online reputation? Let me explain. In business to business consultancy type services, nobody buys online. Well, not quite true. You see, the sales process now starts way earlier in the journey. It's part of the marketing process. So when I have a meeting with somebody, the first thing I expect them to do is go online and check out my company and check out me. So that might mean they're going to look at LinkedIn, as I'm sure you will, LinkedIn, or do a Google search, whatever it happens to be. And at that point, what will your audience see? Will they see that one rogue bad review that was written by somebody who, let's face it, was probably wrong? I hope. But there's always going to be the one rogue review, and it might be that you didn't give them your usual level of service, or it might be that they are actually wrong. But regardless of that, what are you doing to make sure there's enough positive reviews so that when people see your company, they get a good feel for you and that you can do for them what you've already done for others? So online reputation is an ongoing management process and something that should be key. It's a real downer on your conversion rates if people go on and have a look at your company online and see bad things about you. That won't help you sell. So there are the 5 questions. And if you started to think about the 5 questions as I was sharing them, you'll see that all of them actually are about a mindset shift. None of them are particularly technical, they're just about changing the mindset so that all of the digital marketing activities are aligned with what you need as an organization, not just what your marketer wants to post up as a successful campaign due to marketing metrics. They're all tied to business metrics. And I said that I'd like to talk to you about how we can work together to implement these in your business. And that's quite straightforward. I work with you one-to-one, helping you communicate with your digital marketers and helping them communicate with you. Being in the very unique position of being a CEO of various companies over my time and also being a digital marketer, I understand the language of both sides. And I also understand it's difficult for either party to fully understand where the other person is coming from. But in asking these questions consistently and working with both sides of marketing and business strategy, I'm able to create far higher return on investment from your digital marketing just by being there with you. Now, I would love to work with you and see successes in your organization. That's the thing I'm passionate about. Of course, it's down to whether you would like to work with me and get some of these benefits in your organization. And if you would, then I'd just ask you to reach out on LinkedIn or on email elton@eltonboocock.com, and let's first of all run through my diagnostic process without charge to understand where you are now and whether my involvement can actually create a return on investment for you. I only really want to work with organizations where I can genuinely make a difference to your financial results. So the first step is for us to sit down and run through that diagnostic and let's just see where you are now and where you could be in the future. If that's something that appeals, then please do get in touch. LinkedIn Elton Boocock or email elton@eltonboocock.com.